Right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Helen Zhen, and I am the professional developer at the Lemelson-MIT Program. Thanks a lot for your interest in the webinar this evening. Welcome you all. As a lot of you are aware of, since last October, we have been offering a series of free webinars once every 2 weeks. The topics are organized around fostering minds-on and hands-on skills. Those skills we believe are essential to invention. This week, we will talk about one of the minds-on skills that is about involving your community during invention. Next week, we will talk about a hands-on skill that is about troubleshooting circuits and electronics. All of our previous webinars have been recorded. You can find the recorded webinar and the slides on our website. If you go to the lemelson.mit.edu website and go to the Resources tab, you can find them under the Invention Resources. After this webinar, we will send out a separate email about how to access the recording and the slides. The email will also have information about how to register for the next webinar, so please keep an eye on that. For today's webinar, we have set up a chat window for you to post your questions. At the end of the presentation, we will have about 5 minutes to answer the questions. You don't need to turn on the microphone on your computer. Okay, let's get started. First, just a brief introduction of our program. The Lemelson-MIT Program is a multi-faceted program for inventors at all ages. We have over 15 years of experience of working with high school teachers and students on invention projects through our Inventive Grants Initiative. Our high school invent teams have received 7 U.S. patents, and a few of them are now in the process of applying for the patents. Lots of our students have presented at the White House Science Fair and other national and state level science, design, or invention conferences. We also have the JV Inventive Grants Initiative, which focus on middle school and early high school teachers and students. We offer free curriculum on invention education to all teachers and students, and we also provide free materials and staff support to teachers and students at 4 certain areas in the United States. So if you are interested in either of our grants initiative, please feel free to contact us for more information. This evening, specifically, I'm very happy to invite Shelley, one of our master teachers, to share her experience of getting the community involved during her team's invention project. A brief introduction of Shelley. Shelley is a high school teacher working at Cesar Chavez High School in Phoenix, Arizona. She has been teaching physics, robotics, and engineering for over 20 years. About 8 years ago, Shelley led the Cesar Chavez High School invent team and invented a motorized physical therapy chair. Her team presented their invention at the very first White House Science Fair. Here in the picture, you can see this is President Obama was talking with Shelley's students about their invention. And in 2014, their invention was awarded with a U.S. patent. So Shelley, welcome. Could you tell us more about the invention?
Yes, so our chair was designed for physically fragile students who attend our school. Our goal was to increase the frequency of their physical therapy from once a week to daily. In addition to meeting initial specifications, the chair also ended up being equipped with a vibration and heating features.
Wow, that's amazing. That's such an amazing invention, Shelley. I wish the invention can be manufactured largely in the United States, so that, as we know, a lot of people, especially the disabled people, because they have been sitting in the chair for such a long time, so their muscles starting becoming weak. I hope the chair can really help them. Okay. So next, before we start talking about strategies and tips on how to involve the community, first, I hope that let's first review our definition of invention. For our group specifically, we focus on technical inventions. There are altogether 3 distinct characteristics of invention. We believe that first, it needs to be useful. Second, it needs to be unique. And third, it needs to be reduced to practice. An invention needs to be useful because then a client or a user or a consumer can use it because it can meet their needs. And an invention needs to be unique because it needs to be something new or something that was not previously known. And also, invention needs to be more than just ideas. They have to be reduced to practice so that those ideas can be made into prototypes to prove their concept. Typically, when students or teachers talk about invention projects, they tend to focus on the making or the design part, which is actually the aspect of reducing an idea to practice. But more importantly, we believe all the invention project needs to be closely related to the community and needs to be supported by the community and interact with the community closely. Because only by doing this, you can ensure that the invention is useful and will meet the needs of the users and the community. At the same time, the community can help students get to know whether there's an existing solution to the problem and what this kind of a solution is and what kind of problem with the current solution. They can also help students find the resources for their project and as well as provide feedback on the invention prototypes. Through our experience working with so many invent teams every year, we find that keeping the community involved and informed is essential to successful invention projects. It can speed up the invention process and also motivate students' engagement and enthusiasm at the same time. Next, what we are going to do is we want to talk about how to involve the community at different phases during the invention. Here in this picture, you can see that we feel that there are at least 4 different phases during invention, like the finding and defining problems, the inquiry and research, the designing phase, as well as the building and testing part. So we will ask Shelley to share her experience at each phase. So this, as the first phase, is about how to find and finalize the invention projects or invention problems. For students, what we found is students start with a lot of great ideas about what they want to work on, but often those big ideas are kind of too big or too general. So it's very critical that they need to find and finalize their ideas. This is where also they need to talk to different community members so that they can find the problem that the community really needs. Okay, so Shelley, I know your invent team worked on pretty unique problem. Could you tell us more about how they found this problem and who they talked with and all this?
Yes, I'm glad that you've honed in on the importance of talking with the community to verify that the problem really exists. And talking with them also helped us focus on because they were the experts in that area, it wasn't our perception of what the problem was, but the actual problems that they encountered. So we went to the special ed department at our school and spoke with teachers and especially the physical therapist who was able to lay out for us problems that the kids had and then discuss with us what possible options were to help solve those problems or provide something that would make the situation better. The teacher also had multiple things after that for us to work on once we finished this. So that was our initial project. Since then, we went to our principal and he asked us to try to make our environment cooler. In the summertime, it gets very hot here in Phoenix, and there's not enough room in our cafeteria for the students to eat, so we created a solar-powered misting system. When you start solving problems, people come to you with other problems. So at one point, one of my coworkers came and said, hey, I'm looking, my daughter really wants to have raised garden beds in her backyard. Do you know anybody who would build that? And I said, actually, yes. So I'm looking for projects, real projects for my students to become involved in. And so pictured here is the result of one of those projects. And we worked really closely with the woman that we designed these for, with the family that we designed these for, so that they would end up as she wanted them. We also noticed in the news, and one of my students noticed, like when he was out in the lake one day, that sometimes accidents happen, or people fall hiking, or they need water. Out here, you can get really dehydrated pretty quickly with the heat. And you might not realize it during the day, but then it gets really, you become overcome all at once. So we came up with the solution to work with the firefighters to have drones deliver water or minor first aid materials to them. Another one of my students is working on light up clothing. It just so happens that Phoenix is the nation's leader in pedestrian car accidents, which 76% of which happen at night. So we're also working on that.
Wow, that's amazing, Shelley. So your students, to find those problems and finalize their invention problem, they have been talking with teachers in the special ed department. They're talking with the physical therapists. They talk with firefighters, and even your coworkers now know that your students are inventors. They can help solve their problem. That's just amazing how many community members you guys have been talking with to find the problem. So just a brief suggestion to this: remember that always try to talk to people in your community, so that you will be able to get help to find their needs and develop some invention project ideas. Okay, so in the next step is the phase where we kind of put the inquiry, research, and design phase together, because this is the time where students will research to find all the potential invention solutions. They will also evaluate among the various solution ideas to find the most promising ones. And also they need to find the ones that they can work on. And this also involved that students might work on a lot of invention prototypes to test it, just to get a sense about whether that's going to work and how much work it's going to be involved. Now, I know that Shelley, at this phase, your student had a very inspiring experience at the annual NCIRA conference. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, it came at the perfect time during the year. Our students were kind of stuck in our own project on how to continue, and so when they went to San Francisco for this conference, and were approached with and interacted with college professors and other college students that had also undergone experienced great difficulty in coming up with their solutions and actually creating something that would work and reducing it to practice. My students being exposed to those stories, and they were really spurred on and inspired by the students and the people at the next level up. And they returned home just invigorated, and our whole team just rallied around continuing and was renewed in interest and the steadfast pursuit of finishing.
Students must have learned so much by talking with college students and professors and learn from those entrepreneurs. Yeah. Okay, next, I know that your students also at this phase, they created all the different type of prototypes of their invention ideas and should get feedback from all the community members. Can you also talk more about that part?
Yes, we created some paper models and then used feedback from the physical therapist and the teachers to create 3 life-size models. And then we invited all of our stakeholders in to come and have a look at the three different models that we had, and we built them very distinctly different. Pictured here on the left is one that was, the arms were made like a V, and it could hold the limbs in. And we thought that if the students had a natural contour to put their arms in, and then we'd put a strap over the top of that, that would work really well. And this Antonio and Chris thought that. Pictured on the right was one where the kids could stick their hand through a pool noodle, and then the limbs could move around. And those students thought that was a great way to solve that problem. And we had yet a third model that had a nice soft velour fabric that was just cozy. And the feedback that we got from the physical therapist was that she really liked the leather because it was smooth and could be disinfected easily for various students to be able to use. It was easily cleaned. And they really liked the V shape for to place the limbs in, because if the students had a natural contoured place for their body to fit, that they wouldn't try to get out of that because they'd feel comfortable in that space.
Yeah. Wow, your students created 3 different prototypes. I imagine those constructive feedbacks actually help students to rethink about their design, and they can come back and revise their design and show their new designs to the community members to get more feedback, so that students are naturally getting involved in this iterative design processes. Yeah. Well, sometimes the whole process of doing this might take longer time than expected. So you just need to tell, as an educator, I think the teachers need to be prepared for this. The whole kind of getting feedback and revising and getting feedback, this whole loop might take longer than they expect. Okay, so next, yeah, in the building and testing phase, I know, Shelly, your students got a lot of feedback from local support, like the local industry partners and the lawyers. Can you tell us more about this?
Yes, we needed assistance when we were building the chair to fix the members together. We tried bolting it and using screws, and nothing was just substantial enough that would really hold up. So we decided that welding would probably work the best. But none of us were really good at welding, and it had been a while since I've done that type of work, and I don't know how to weld aluminum. It's a special skill. So we ended up going to Ace Auto, which is an auto shop that used to sponsor our electric racing team. And the kids went down, and immediately when we entered the shop, the workers and the owner welcomed us in. The kids were free to use all the machines that they needed. If they didn't know how to use one of them, the workers there came over and showed us how to do that. And it was just a really, instead of holding our work quietly and secretively, we're the only ones that can know about this, when we encountered difficulty, we went out to our community and asked people to join our team and welcome people in, and made our community bigger. And then people were really happy and shared in our excitement and our passion to do this work. Here pictured is one of the kids building an arc that would allow the arm to travel through the circular path that would be necessary, and then one of the other students is bending some metal. Also, we engaged in conversations with patent lawyers, which we were connected with by some of the parents of the kids. So they came out, drove an hour to get here to talk with our kids about what it took to get a patent. And on one of the occasions, they came with news that President Obama kind of changed patent law during the time that we were doing this work. It used to be that to get a patent, if you could show in your engineering notebook that you were the first person to come up with the idea, that you would receive the patent. And the fall of 2009, when we were working on this, he signed into law that the first person to file would be the people awarded the patent.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So the local industry partners as well as the lawyers. I feel especially having students talking with some patent lawyer, it's a unique experience because a lot of times students just don't know anything about patents, don't understand about how this get the whole process. So having students to get contacting into the community members, they can bring students more information and more resources.
And they came with stories about Jerome Lemelson as well. Some of them were older, and so they knew about him, and they could speak. That was our we were funded through the Lemelson-MIT Program, and so that was really touching that they knew this man that we also treasured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, just besides all this about mention the community members, as Shelley was just mentioned that the lawyer actually was introduced by one of the students' parents. So we need to remember as a teacher, you are working with students and the family members and also students' friends, all the friends of the families are also very important community members. Often those family and friends can work with students to overcome a lot of obstacles during invention journey. And also it's important when students celebrate for their success, the families and friends are there to celebrate for their success too. So Shelley, I know that you were very successful in getting families and friends to help with the student. Could you tell us more about that?
So towards the end of our invention year, we held a meeting to showcase our progress with our invention project, which was coming along pretty well. But one of the things we had kind of let slip, and I didn't really know how we were going to come back from, was the fundraising efforts. The grant covered our invention costs, but we needed to raise money to travel back to MIT to show off our work. So one of the things that I brought up at this meeting with the parents was, I don't know how we're going to raise the money to do this. And the meeting ended with complete silence and no resolution. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. Then I really didn't, I was just kind of in despair. And I didn't know if, I don't know what the kids were thinking, but in walked this parent who arrived a little bit late from work and asked, hey, what happened? And one of the other parents said, well, they don't have any money to go back east. And she just said, well, we just make tamales. And so then, the parents send these kids off to school and trust that we're doing our best to educate them and help prepare them for their future. And the parents really want the kids to have a great future. And they'd like to be a part of the work, but they kind of feel lost when the kids get to high school because it's all just kind of they feel out of their element. But when the discussion of tamales came up, there was just this huddle immediately in the room, and people got together and started making this grocery list of all the things we'd need to make these tamales. And I called some of my friends that used to work in the foods classes and culinary, and before long we had food donated, and the meat is really expensive, and that was the first thing that people donated. And then people came, and as you can see pictured here, the foods teacher let us use their classroom, and we spent 2 days on 2 separate occasions making tamales by the dozens, and then the students went out and sold those, and we raised a ton of money doing that. We also have tax credit donations here in Phoenix, or in Arizona, and people can donate money to the school, and they also get 100% of that back on their taxes. So that's a remarkable fundraising opportunity as well. And some other teachers went out, and some of the teachers wanted to help, but some of them didn't know much about how to build things. So they went out and did fundraising for us, and it was just it was amazing to see people come from all walks of life and just want to be a part of this work that we were engaged in. At the end, because the families had been involved and the community had been involved, when we got back from MIT, and we showcased the chair and told the story of what we had encountered. Then we took a picture of everybody that had helped and all the families and all the kids. And It's just a great moment.
Yeah. So I can see the faces on the families and friends. They must be so proud for the invention project. Yeah. So actually, yeah, is it Shelley, one of your students tell the tamale story to President Obama, and President Obama said,
Yeah,
now the yeah.
the the, the tea and tamales.
Yeah, so President Obama just say now you understand in the stem the T represent for tamales. Yeah, I this must be such a memory experience for all the students. Yeah. Okay. So now Shelley was just sharing all her great experience about working, getting the community involved in the invention project. We just want to summarize a little bit about this. We feel that our experience also show that one of the most important tips when we work with community is to keep the community updated about the progress of your project. So this can be done through multiple ways and multiple channels. For example, first you can have this community invention festival or showcase, as Shelley was just mentioned, that where all the community members will all the whole community members will get engaged to celebrate for their inventions. And also, in order to try to engage more people, especially those people who may be interested, but they just somehow could not participate because of language or the cultural barriers, it's important to consider about their needs. For example, I know, Shelley, you always have some students work as an interpreter so that they can help you communicate with the parents, especially for those Hispanic kids. All those kind of things you need to consider about the needs of the community members. And also, finally, other than the community festivals, there are all those kind of different opportunities you can keep the community informed. For example, you can have formal or informal gatherings or meetings or newsletters, or now all the kind of online social medias. Media is also a great tool. For example, I know a lot of teachers have a Facebook page or Twitter the parents and the community members about their project. And also, of course, the showcase is always a great opportunity. And also the tax deducting donation, that's also a great incentive to to the community members. We have been talking about all the successful stories of getting community involved, but also we want to warn you that often community engagement is not that easy and it's not always successful. I know, Shelley, you you previously when you work with the group homes for abused children, then you you do your experience of working with them, you try to reach out with them, but somehow because of their changing their new director, the reach out to activity was not successful. So that, as a educator, you need to be aware that, sometimes just the community engagement is not always successful. So what you, as a educator you can do is, try to understand their needs and potentially just explore different communities and constantly build your network. For example, local business members, firefighters, policemen, senior citizens, or local government officials. These are all could be your potential community members. Overall, just try to be more proactive in reaching out to the community. Okay. So next, yeah, I just want to, we have just shared great experience from Shelley. Here, I just couldn't help but talking and sharing about another case from another event team we know. Here is a project about a Haiti container building project. So I just want to show this to introduce some ways that you can potentially engage the community, but also in a fun and relatively easy way. So here the Haiti Container Building Project is a project sponsored by, actually hosted by the Marietta City Schools in Atlanta, Georgia. So those students, they want to help students who suffer in Haiti earthquakes. by helping them building a new school and even a new life. So in order for them to engage the local communities or the students or the parents, so the teachers and the students talk about different ways to do the community engagement. Specifically, the first activity they have been doing is this $2 per day campaign, where the students and parents need to try to live on $2 per day, because that's the average household income for a family in Haiti. You can imagine most people failed in this $2 per day campaign, but the message is they get a chance to understand about the challenges of people in Haiti, how they suffer. And the second one is the school-wide clothing drive. Actually, this activity finally ended up as more as a community-wide clothing drive. So people and students donate clothes, and students clean them and fold them and ship them all the way to Haiti. And the Haiti kids send back pictures when they are actually wearing those clothes. Those are really great incentive to kids, because especially when they saw their clothes were on some kids in Haiti, that's such a big rewarding experience. And the third activity is a local fundraising dance party, where in their local middle schools, they hold a dance party, and the ticket to the party was used to buy living necessities that can be shipped to Haiti, again, to help those kids. So overall, through all this kind of experience, the student on all these activities, students, parents, and families, they're informed of the projects, the needs in Haiti people, so that they can become more interested in support students to find the resources to better work on their projects. And now we leave this slide purposefully blank. We just want to ask you guys, if you have reached out in your community, tell us more about what did you do and who did you reach out, and feel free to share your experience in the chat window, and we would love to have your community involvement experience in our final slides, so that we can share with more audience, more teachers in our community. So yeah, now the final is just a few Lemelson-MIT resources on our website. We have the detailed information about the grants initiative, and also the JV Inventing curriculum materials. The Inventor Archive and Inventor's Handbook are very useful. We all recommend that to all our event teams, and the teachers really like to use that. Please feel free to check all the resources. So yeah, if you have any